Sir, thank you so much for being here, and I'd also request Mr. Vasant Bhandari, Events Head, UB Group, to kindly present Mr. Bachchan with a token of appreciation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. And now may we also have Mr. Pankaj Vadwa, Director Sales and Marketing on stage, and Tejas Jose, General Manager, Novotel Hotel, to present, sir, with a copy of Name, Place, Animal and Thing for our book launch. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you very much. And now may we also have on stage Abhay, Pooja and Mayank to join sir for our wonderful book launch. Thank you.
Was because of absolute fear of this journalist who has one of the sharpest, razor-sharp wits that I've ever read, and a pen that is dipped in the most purest form of acid. And therefore, when you read some of his reviews of the films that you worked in, you make sure you come to his book launch. That's why I'm here. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I think that Mayank has a few questions that he wishes to ask me. I shall now proceed there, because that is what is being dictated by Mayank Shekhar.
Can you wait?
Check 1, 2.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bachchan, for doing this. You're scared of me?
Yeah. Actually, this is the closest that I've ever been to you in my entire career. So I do hope that you will be kind with me, Hank.
That's not true. There's a long story. There's one time that I was in your house, and that holy party that you
That's
had,
right.
and quite a few bombs down. I really jumped you, but you don't remember that one.
Was that you?
That was
oh,
me.
Sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. This is the second part of the book launch. Or as they say, since it's a movie in some form or the other, this is the post-interval, and the hero has just arrived. Big hand again, please.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Bachchan,
Incidentally, I was asked to be here at 8:45. It's not that I'm late.
No, you were absolutely on time. We just read those passages really, really fast because they were, well, not the most interesting. But my question to you, Mr. Bachchan, is because one of the passages that we started, from the book's point of view, was on how being Indian, male, and single is a tropical disease, and that's what this book starts with. Quite clearly, that's not true. It's a joke, and it's really to get the reader involved. But you were once also single in college, maybe right after college. When you look back at the Indian man back then, and when you compare the Indian urban man now, the young Indian urban man now, especially when it comes to relationship between men and women, how do you think things have changed over the past 5 decades?
I think I'll have to go back to my school days. That was in the 50s, excuse me. And I was in a boarding school, Sherwood College in Nainital, and we had a sister school called All Saints. And one of the highlights of being in Sherwood was that every Sunday the girls would come to chapel, which is the church in our school. And that was the moment when the entire school was dressed in their finest, and polished shoes and polished buttons on your blazer, because each one of us had a favorite amongst the girls' school, and we were hoping that they would notice us so that we could, when they came up for our sports event or for our drama event, the program that was a very rough cyclostyle kind of a page was put inside very neatly decorated, hand-drawn covers that we made for that particular lady, whom we were very fond of. And that was the ultimate form of romance, call it romance or expression of love, that we could do. It's putting that paper in a hand-drawn kind of a paper cover and asking the head girl of the school to distribute it out to them. Then you went into college, and university, as you will know, is a different ball game. And because I was in Delhi University, the entire university caught the bus that would stop at Miranda House, because that's where all the girls were. And everyone, even though their college was miles away, would get off there and just to have a look at these beautiful girls. Some very embarrassing moments happened, because I was in Kirorimal College, and Miranda House decided to do a play where they required 3 men. And our drama instructor in Kirorimal was very kindly asked that if he could recommend a few names. So 2 boys were selected from St. Stephen's, and yours truly was selected from Kirorimal. And this entire college ambition to somehow be able to enter these very pure and pristine walls of the Miranda House was finally going to be accomplished, and we were just delighted. So on the first day of rehearsal, we were asked to come from the back gate into Miranda House. And we walked in with a lot of pride, looking around. And the dormitories are right above. And all the girls were standing there. And it's the first time that I realized how embarrassing it is for a woman, for a lady, when she's not really abused, but teased on the streets, because when the 3 of us walked in, all these girls that were standing there, kya chal hai? Kya style hai yaar? And some whistles were being blown and stuff like that. It was truly, truly embarrassing. That's the first time I realized, what ladies go through on the streets. That apart, then we went into job hunting. I was working in Calcutta. And you're truly independent there. And the very maximum that you did was on the weekend you went to one of the prominent restaurants for a meal, ended up at another restaurant where there was dancing. Dancing was different in those times.
But how did you...
there was physical contact. You held a lady very gracefully, and you waltzed with her, or you foxtrotted with her. And then suddenly came this music where you had no contact at all, and you never even realized whether your partner was dancing with you or the person next door. And those are some of the things that... There was a lot of letter writing. There was more expression through that, but I don't know how today's youngsters conduct themselves.
Well, Cyrus does. He goes on Tinder and nobody swipes to the right. But Mr. Bachchan, to what extent do you think popular cinema in particular has had a huge impact on the way men and women interact with each other?
Yeah, I think that, cinema in many ways imitates life, and we have several filmmakers here who would agree with me. They read something, they see something, they observe something, and then they develop and they create around it. Many times, cinema is accused of, sending a wrong impression or a wrong visual out. But I think equally responsible are some of the other people who project what happens. And this is not, anything to say against you, I dare not. But sometimes, let's say, for example, they say that, cinema propagates violence, but Indian cinema is just 100 years old. But are you trying to tell me that there was no violence before that?
Sure.
Some of the greatest tragedies and violence happened during the time of the partition of the country.
No, I think I meant it more in a positive sort of way, where you are sending out signals how to say, how to approach a woman, how to be, romantic with her, how to dress a certain way, how to date, for instance. People, do you think they take signals from the movies far more than they do from, peers who are absolutely as clueless at that age anyway?
Yeah, you're asking this to the wrong person.
Why? Why?
Because I haven't a clue. Really, I don't know how youngsters behave today and what they do.
But were you personally influenced? Your idea of romance did at some level come from popular films that you grew up on?
The films that I grew up on they were very staid, they were very formal, really conforming to contemporary style, which was you sang songs, and you saw somebody in the window, and you stood outside on the side of the road, and you sang songs, and I'm sure that many of you will agree that some of the most beautiful romantic songs were developed during that time. Now it's, I don't know, it's very rapid. It happens very fast. And actually the people don't have too much patience, which is why they want to get over it within the first 5 minutes of a film. Yeah, okay, so what next? Let's get on with it. That kind of an attitude.
Right. But going back to the aspect of influence, Mr. Bachchan, there's a piece in this book which is deeply critical of the sort of heroes we used to have in the 80s. And they, at some level, or so it argues, led to the male stalker being seen as a Hindi film hero, and that we saw much more of that in the 80s than in any other decade. And thankfully, we've sort of crossed that now. That was a phase from the past. How did you see that phase, or do you even agree that is vaguely true?
I just said, I think that was not so much as stalking somebody as really wanting to find an excuse.
Building, you catcall, you whistle. If she says no, she actually means yes. Tikhi she is. There's too many songs that sort of typify that.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think that period was more devoted to just being able to stand outside and appreciate somebody beautiful and devise lines and write beautiful verses. Now, of course, it's different, but it was more poetic, I feel,
sure.
And a lot more gentle than it is now.
Speaking of influence, Mr. Bachchan, and here I'm talking about not influence from an individual's perspective to our popular movies, but the crazy influence that Bollywood has had. I'm sorry I use that word, and I will not in this discussion anyway, since you abhor Bollywood, but the crazy influence that Hindi cinema has had across the world. Now, of course, we talk about, say, you doing Baz Luhrmann's Great Gatsby, or Priyanka Chopra presenting at the Oscars, and here and there, so-called, the West, in terms of Western Europe and North America. But for the longest, if you take a left from India and you go to Pakistan, you go to Afghanistan, you go further down to, North Africa, you go to, Central Asia, Eastern Europe, it's crazy the kind of influence that Hindi films have had. What do you make of this? Like, what is it that they've been watching for so many years? Because it's very organic. There was, to the best of my knowledge, not so much support from the government. It's not like it just happened on its own. What happened?
Yeah. When you say go left from India, you're
Well, I
looking
know,
at
I'm
India
giving
like
the
this,
Western
or-
perspective, yeah.
Okay, all right. I think that there's always been a cultural difference. The sentiments are different between our side of the horizon as opposed to them. If you look at, the fact that the first men came out, or the first humans came out of Africa, and they traveled north across to Asia, and they split up into two groups. One went left to the west and the other to the right. The left turned out to be more technologically sentimental. The right was more emotionally sentimental. That's the closest that I can get to it. But yes, you're right. A lot of our films have been seen in these regions and have gained prominence. And the only answer that I can give is that perhaps they were culturally closer to these people as much as the other side of the horizon was culturally away from it or distant from it. That's all we can say. And the same sentiment happens when their cinema comes to us. I mean, if there's a Titanic or a Bruce Lee or some kind of a fantasy, it does extremely well because there's not too much emotion apart from Titanic. But if they have a family drama that would come here, it, I think, would not fare too well. And if we project some of our stuff that side, they are unable to understand the sentiment of poetry and romance and song and dance, which is, we've inherited that from our 5,000-year culture. And that's the difference that I see.
Right. Mr. Bachchan, there's a piece in this book which is on travels in Iran and in Tehran in particular. But there's this one time that we were walking down the street of a town called Isfahan, and there were people who accosted us and took pictures of us because we were Indians and therefore from the land of Amitabh Bachchan, right? Now this is, people take our photos because we come from the same country as you do.
You're kidding.
Not kidding at all.
Really?
Not kidding. And you know that happens. What is the craziest thing that happens to you? I mean, if this is what happens to me because I come from this country where you belong to, what happens to Amitabh Bachchan himself? What is the craziest thing that you've seen that's made you wonder what kind of reach Hindi films have had?
Yeah. When I think of this, I first think of Rajesh Khanna and his unbelievable superstardom. And he's really been the truest superstar of our industry. And during the time I was shooting Anand with him, he used to get a lot of visitors on set. And there were many occasions when there were people coming in from distant countries, Spain in particular. And I used to wonder, what has Spain got to do with Indian movies? But that's when I realized that there is a reach. People who came from Beirut, for example, were extremely fond of Shami Kapoor. And people that came from Russia, of course, were in love with Raj Kapoor ji. So we always knew that there was something there. But I myself, I went out in the early 80s to do a concert on stage, which was, I thought, a terrible thing for me to do because I was least equipped with it. But some of the people pushed me, and that's when we realized the amount of love and affection and the intensity of what Hindi cinema or Indian cinema has on the Western audiences. There have been great examples. Every time I've say my first visit to Egypt, for example, is quite peculiar because I was flying in from Europe to a festival, International Film Festival in Cairo. And on the plane, I noticed that there was an Arabic paper which had my photograph, and I was wondering what it was, so I asked some of them. And they said, no, this is, you are coming to Cairo, and your film, Mard, is running here in some 142nd week or something like that. So I said, this is ridiculous, and somebody is probably doing some rumor mongering here. But when I landed in Cairo, it was a unique experience because in the first time in my life, my customs and immigration was done in my hotel. I was just bulldozed from the aircraft with crowds of people and a lot of enthusiasm and just, thank you. And that just, it just pushed me out, and the security and the police said, "We've got to get you out of here, sir." And they just pushed me into the car and took me to the hotel, and that's where I met the immigration officer. South Africa was another unique experience when I went there for the first time to do a concert. And before the actual concert happened, it was in a football stadium. We had an audience of almost 80,000 people, which is very unique because when we heard about concerts going out, there were more than just 100, 200, 300 people. But this is unbelievable. And before that, we had to go and meet a certain Indian community that lived a little distant from Durban. It was called Watford. And they said, "These are people who cannot afford the tickets to come to your show, and it'll be nice if you can go and meet them. It'll give them an opportunity to meet you." So we drove, and half an hour into the drive, the police came in and said, "Stop, we cannot go any further because all the roads leading to this mall where I was supposed to meet this Indian community is blocked with people, and we'll have to think of another way of getting you in." So they brought in a helicopter on the highway, and I got into it, and we flew, and we landed on the roof of the mall. And there was just unbelievable mass of humanity, which is just incredible.
Can I tell you a story where you saved a life? So I can't remember which of the two newspapers, but one of my colleagues, a very famous crime journalist, S.O. Zedi, once called me up and said, "Do you know Amitabh Bachchan?" I said, "I think that's a pretty stupid question to ask. I mean, everybody knows Amitabh Bachchan. Whether he knows me is the question, you know what I mean?" So he said, no, I want to know whether you can can you make somebody meet Amitabh Bachchan? So I'm like, "Depends, sir. Is it a life and death thing?" I was just kidding with him. He said, "Yes." I said, "What happened?" So Hussain Zaidi was in Baghdad doing an investigative story, trying to look for a Baghdadi Don. And as one of the best investigative journalists should do, he was in the bazaar of Baghdad asking people if they know where the Don is. Next thing he knows, he is inside the den of the Don, and it's clear that he's going to be killed. And it's only a matter of few minutes before they'll shoot him dead, because he can't answer exactly what they're saying, and they know there's something wrong here. And then the Don finally comes to the den, God knows for what, and just checks on him, says, where are you from?" Said, "India." I don't even know whether he said it in English. He said, "India." Say, "India? Amitabh Bachchan?" Say, "Yeah." "Know him?" "Yeah." "Make me meet him?" "Yeah." "Let him go. 1 sec. Did meet my son, Abhishek." It's crazy. So you have saved a life for sure. That I know of. Mr. Bachchan, when you're on doing a blog, for instance, or when you're on Twitter, that's when you get a sense of how you have fans across the world because they interact with you on a daily basis. In fact, one of the pieces in the book really talks about, while you were also the first superstar to get on television, you were actually also the first superstar to take blogging very seriously.
Do you have to keep saying superstar all the time? Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Apparently you're scared of me, so I need to reiterate in my head so that it doesn't go to my head right now. Now, when you started doing your blog, and here's the sense I get. I got a sense that perhaps you're also documenting your life like an autobiography while you're also blogging. Is that true? Or
No.
are you also writing an autobiography?
No, I'm not. It's not worth even considering. But yeah, the blog has been a great revelation for me. I never knew what it was, and when I was introduced to it, I just wrote a few lines and I got a response, and I thought, this is terrific. And then the next day I wrote another one, and I got 2 more. And now I'm on day 2,902 days, non-stop, every day. On Twitter, I'm on 2,119, and on Facebook, 1,289.
The next one being this launch, I'm presuming.
So yes, it's a great experience, and it's wonderful to know them. I just gave them a title, the people that came onto my blog. I called them my extended family. I gave them in a kind of abbreviated form, I called them my EF, and they're all over the world. And it's really become a wonderful family, because every time I travel outside, say if I go to England or if I go to New York or somewhere in Europe, there is an EF there somewhere. They all come and meet me, and now I know almost 200-300 of them by face. They come to India, they come to Mumbai, and there are a lot of EF in Mumbai, and they're in touch with each other, and when they come, they stay in each other's places. If I'm, say, I was performing my father's poetry in Paris at the Théâtre du Champs-Élysées, and they all came to know, and about 40 of them collected money through their earnings. And for the first time, they all gathered together, somebody from South Africa, somebody from Middle East, from San Francisco, from England, from Germany, and they all gathered at the same point at the airport in Paris and met each other for the first time. They all stayed together, and they all came to the function together.
You're like a Rotary Club of your own.
Yeah, it was just wonderful. So yes, it's been a great experience and a great joy.
But have you not considered writing an autobiography?
No, it's not worth it, no.
I think you should consider doing a book of conversations. I think I have about 10,000 words of conversations with you. We could turn into a book. Gaurav and Shikha are around. We can sign a contract right now. But my question to you, Mr. Bachchan, is, do you, like everyone else, do you get trolled on Twitter?
Oh, yes.
No
Oh,
way.
yes. Yeah. The choice abuses, which obviously I cannot mention here. And I never block them, because I think it's good to know what other people think about you. And there are many that are not very kind and generous in their remarks. But that's fine. And yes, I do get abused every day, almost.
Are you otherwise?
And sometimes you get the odd remark which is kind of sarcastic, and that gets picked up by the media, and a whole headline is made out of it. Like recently, when I went to Kolkata and sang the national anthem, in my Facebook, in the responses that I get on my Facebook day, about 2,000 responses. So somewhere down in the 1,000 something, somebody, और वो 4 करोड़ रुपए जो लिया था गाने के लिए, उसका क्या हुआ? It's just a stray remark, and that was picked up, and the media went crazy, and I had a very senior journalist actually send me a message. So, did you take that 4 crore rupees? And I was pretty disappointed, because I felt that I never expected somebody of your breeding and your attitude and your maturity to be able to even think that somebody would charge money for singing the national anthem, but that's what it is. But worse happened, because now somebody has filed a case against me for singing the anthem 22 seconds longer than what it should be. So if they call me again, I'll have to sing it within 58 seconds. Yeah. But it's strange, because nobody would have ever known the person who filed this case, but now he's a world-renowned figure. So this happens very often with people in public life and who have some kind of celebrity status. Just to take a shot at you, they will have their moment of importance, and it's something that you cannot avoid, and you have to live with it. So right now there are several cases against me which are emanating from things like this.
You said some kind of celebrity status. You're a problem with being called a superstar, or I said it thrice. Is this at some level your defense against the fact that for the past 4 or 5 decades, people have just been calling you great, Big B, Shansha? Are you tired of people telling you or praising you all the time?
Yeah,
does it like get to you after a point?
It's not healthy, because it's not deserving. And even if it was, I just feel that if somebody was deserving of being called by these wonderful epithets, it would stunt their growth in many ways. The moment you start believing that you're great and you're big, then somewhere you don't think of expansion or don't think of going any further. So it's good to just remain very normal and still wanting to learn and be challenged by something which you haven't done, or look at your tomorrow's day with a lot of anticipation, with fear, with anxiety as to what is going to happen, whether I'm going to be able to perform, and whether it's going to be perfect, whether it's going to be understood or not. But these are some of the things that goes through my mind every day, so I couldn't possibly.
But one can't take away from the fact that when you started, there was 1970, which was the first term of Indira Gandhi, and from then you're still the movie. You just thank you, congratulations for the national award.
Oh, thank you.
This is so from the first term of Indira Gandhi to the the current term for Modi, from 1970 to 2016. You know, governments have changed. You know, Tinder has come in or whatever has not come in, and this book is only about the past 20 years, but you've dominated absolutely everything for those decades.
No,
that cannot be taken away.
No, that's not true. Really.
That's not true.
Yeah. There are many other public figures who've had an extremely long life.
Tell me one who's Indian.
I think a lot of politicians have had a much larger and a longer public life. If I'm not wrong, our present President of India, Pranab Mukherjee, he's had one of the longest tenures of public life. He's been a member of parliament, he's been ministers in several different cabinets, and look, he's still...
Speaking of which, everyone's talking about whether you will accept if you were offered to become the President of India. That's what everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
You brought it up.
This has to be a joke, obviously, so because this evening is full of humor and wit, I shall accept that with a lot of humor and wit.
So, you won't or you will?
It's a joke.
It's a joke, okay. One of the things that the book touches on, and this is my last question before I read the acknowledgement of the book and then come back. Actually, this is not my last question. It has to do with acknowledgement. Is happiness, the idea of happiness. And Mr. Bachchan, you've seen ups and downs, and because you've been a public figure throughout, so we all know about your highs and lows and ups and downs. But what makes you happy?
Well, right now I'd like to get back and go back to the game.
You asked me to hurry up, yes. I'll quickly go through.
क्या हुआ?
Score क्या?
शाबाश जेल गया कि नहीं? अरे गया
So this is...
सर उसको घर पे आया तो उसको इतना खिलाया पिलाया, उसका हाथ पैर जोड़ा, हो गया काम.
I quickly go through the acknowledgement of the book and get on to the last question so we can also... So yeah, I read...
Hey, Gela. I didn't realize that. Yeah, Gela.
So just to get on to the acknowledgement of the book, and before we finish the evening and get on to the game as well, need to thank a few people who are responsible for this book. Of course, the first person would be Akar Patel, who gave me a column when I was about 23 years old. I had to grow a goatee. At that time, when Mr. Bachchan had one, I had no brief, not even Bollywood or popular culture. I froze every week. This seemed all too overwhelming for me. So thank you, Akar. He's not here, he's in Bangalore. Each piece in this book, in its abridged, slightly altered, or another version, has appeared in the following publications: Midday, Mumbai Mirror, Sunday Midday, Caravan, Open Magazine, Hindustan Times, New York Times, Man's World. I think Radha is here somewhere. Thank you, Radha. And the Indian Quarterly. As for the book itself, there's my publisher, Shikha Sabarwal, editor, Pooja Dadwal, my agent, Kanishka Gupta. Thank you most of all for being patient. Yes, I go MIA once in a while, and let me make no excuses this time. It's mainly to hang out with friends, which is the only life I know. And my friends are all here. And thank you so much for being there. The next book, I'm going to have a friends list. So of all the people, so make sure that you buy a couple of copies of the book. It costs less than a pint of beer, and the beer tonight is free. So we're all good. Now, film critic Gene Siskel had a simple but profound question he would sign off all his celebrity interviews with, leaving many flummoxed by the end of it. It's something I'm told Oprah Winfrey credited and incorporated in her talk show later. The question, what do you know for sure? Meaning, I guess, if everything changed about your life, was that one thing you're sure won't? In other words, that one thing that really matters actually. It's a tough one for anyone. For me, it's quite simply my best friends, who only coincidentally happen to be my family, my parents, my dad, my mom.
Please sit, please.
My brother Alok is back somewhere. His little kids, Ira, AJ, Raki. Like this book, like everything else, is for you. And can I please have my parents over so they have a gift for you, Mr. Bachchan?
Yeah, sure. Other questions over? Oh, thank you so much.
मेरे गांव को पेंटिंग है उसको
जी
मधुबनी
जी
पेंटिंग
मधुबनी ओह यस
My mom is
मधुबनी से हैं। उनकी तो पेंटिंग बहुत
For more news and gossip, don't forget to subscribe to Bollywood Helpline.